What is going down, faithful? We got a versus episode today, and it is going to be the 2012 San Francisco 49ers roster versus the 2022 roster. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because last year there was a point in time when we were talking about, man, is this defense better than the 2012 defense? Is this roster better? Let's pull them up. Let's get down to it and go side to side and see, do we think the 2012 was better than last year or vice versa? And can it be even and better in 2023? We're going to get into that all right now. Let's cook. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Shout out to all the SDS hopping in the building. El Camilio with the thumbnail gate. Hey, I'm proud to let you guys know that all the thumbnails, it takes me 30 seconds. You guys are free to use them as much as you please. It's because it's a good time to be a member of the San Francisco 49ers. Shout out to all the Brad gang in the building. Hopefully, you guys had a phenomenal Easter if you did celebrate. Got together with your families, got to vibe out a little bit. The weather in California right now is absolutely immaculate. Like, I don't even know why the hell I'm inside right now, but it is so nice, and I can't wait to get done with this live, go to the park, and throw that pigskin around because it's so nice. I mean, I'm out here in California. I don't know where you guys are out vibing from, but if you know, I mean, it's been raining like crazy out here for the last month, and it's whoo, it's beautiful out here. Shout out to all the SDS. Shout out to all my day two boys. Good to see the gang. Look at the gang out today. Good to see y'all. Smash that like button, all that good stuff. Gluten gang. I like the gluten gang. I don't know. Have we heard that before? I don't know. I like it though. It's fire. Shout out to the squad. Uh Brian says this year's defense might be better than both. And I think that is worth a discussion because when so I did this, I kind of ran through this already, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I started to get a little bit of anxiety of like, because I don't know about you. When I think of that 2012 San Francisco 49ers team, I mean, just looking at the roster, pure nostalgia. Like, I'm like, man, these are some of my guys. Like, I even have like newspaper clippings. That's Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, Colin Kaepernick. Like, those are my guys, man. So trying to stack these rosters against each other, it turned out to be a lot more stressful than I anticipated and also a lot more difficult than I anticipated. That's why I was like, let's do this together because I was actually making like a standalone video. I was like, you know what? Nah, we need to work through this together because when you start to play that game and you comparing position versus position, it gets a little crazy, man. And you're like, you start to think back and you're like, dang. And you forget that 2012 team was pretty fire. So, as we know, since the 2022 roster is, it's in the forefront of our mind. Like it was, when did this happen? Like not that long ago. So when we're looking at the 2022 roster, we know who's on that squad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the 2012, and let's go position by position and discuss what we think, who wins out, because honestly it becomes a lot harder than I anticipated. um do you guys want to talk rumors first, rumors last or no rumors at all? Let me know in the chat because as you guys know, I want your input. I want you to be a part of this show. And I do respectfully acknowledge the quarterback fatigue around the San Francisco 49ers. And at the end of the day, guess what? We got more rumors. So okay, no rumors. On to let's screw the rumors, right? Screw the rumors. Let's debate. We'll do rumors at the last. We'll do rumors at the end. Let's debate. Let's debate this roster right now. So, as we know, going back to 2020, so we're using last year, right? We could use 2023, but the reason I'm not using 2023 is because everything is hypothetical at this point. We don't have the rookie class. We still have a long ways to go in regards to what 2023 is going to be. They got to play the damn season. They got to play the season and they got to draft the rookies. Who knows? Who knows if this draft produces another George Kittle, another Talanoa Hufanga, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw? We don't know. So the 2023 comp doesn't really work. So I'm not going to do that. So we're going to comp to last year. So let's start with the quarterback room. And I'm doing it as rooms as well. I'm not doing it player to player. So when we talk about the quarterback position with the 2012 team, you have to talk about Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick because they both combined helped the San Francisco 49ers advance to the Super Bowl. Don't forget, Alex Smith was playing some of the best football of his career. And then he got a concussion. I think it was Monday Night Football against the Bears. And Colin Kaepernick comes in, and the rest is history. So that's how we're operating. Just like the 2022 roster, it was Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Brock Purdy. So let's start here. And again, we're going to keep the chat involved, and I want to hear from you guys. So our first verses of the day, 2012 quarterback room versus the 2022 quarterback room. Who had the better room? Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith, or does it come out to be Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo? Going to be, I'm interested to see what the chat vibing like out here. But if I had to give my take on it, I would imagine that a lot of you would feel somewhat the same. But you see in the chat, Chili says 2012. Adam says 2012. Got to give it to 12. 2012. Justin says 12. 11 and 7. I feel the same. Even with the ascension of Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo probably playing some of the best ball wearing a 49er jersey. And look, we got some. It's a close one. And Douglas says Purdy is picking Purdy, Lance, and Jimmy. I can't look past what Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick did that season. It like, I think of the Vince McMahon meme where he's like, they were special, man. They were special. Alex was balling. Alex didn't deserve to lose his job, but Colin came in and Colin played legendary, just out of his mind. So I got to give it to 2012 as well. But I do think it is is somewhat close. Now, this is where I started stressing immediately because we're going to go on to verses number 2. I started like no list and debate should really stress you out unless like you're just a red and gold blooded San Francisco 49er fan like me, man. Like when I started to think about Frank Gore versus Christian McCaffrey, I'm like, oh, I was like, I was instantly like, man, this is a lot harder than I anticipated. And again, remember, it's rooms. So we're also comparing Kendall Hunter as well. Kendall Hunter was a dog, right? Dog. Uh, just like Frank Gore was. But you have Christian McCaffrey, you've got Elijah Mitchell, you have uh, standouts like Jordan Mason. That's tough, man. It's tough. Oh yeah, I got cooked. I was on the sun all day this weekend. I was in the sun all day, multiple Easter egg hunts. I got cooked, as you can see. But that's typically what happens when this ginger steps out into the sun. But this one instantly, like I didn't even want to answer it, and I wasn't even on live. I was like, just hypothetical. I know you see that, but it was like hypothetically speaking, when you have to pick Frank Gore versus Christian McCaffrey, like who are you picking? Because they're not comparable. Because Frank Gore is an Iron Man. He would run the football 30, felt like 40 times a game in between the tackles. But then you have Christian McCaffrey that is like the ultimate offensive weapon. And Christian McCaffrey, this is where I start to try to rationalize it, switch roles. Who has more impact if you take Christian McCaffrey and you put him behind that offensive line in 2012, or if you take Frank Gore and you put him in this scheme, I think it's Christian McCaffrey that comes out on top. Could you imagine Christian McCaffrey running with two tight sets, fullback, 30 times a play through gaping holes because that 49ers offensive line was legendary? So I love Frank Gore, man. Frank Gore is a legend. The inconvenient truth. I mean, this is, like I said, right away, boom, off the bat. I'm like, damn, I'm stressing because this is hard. I think ultimately, and so let's reset it. I know some of you guys have dropped it. Who are you picking? Are you picking basically? I think the rooms are about even though I do like Kendall Hunter quite a bit. I also like Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason a lot. So I feel like that's a wash. So I'm going to just go CMC versus Gore. I feel like CMC could have maybe had more of an impact. Oh, dude, I don't know. Let me know in the chat, man. I need your help. I need your help because this is difficult. I told you I'm stressing already. Right off the bat, Ryan says CMC's tough to beat. Boomer says I'm going CMC. Justin says the difference for him is receiving because, again, you have to keep in mind not only is CMC a dynamic runner, but, dude, he could line up as the slot if you needed him to. CMC. Oh, Latonia says Gore does everything CMC does, but better. That's a bold take. That might be one of the bolder takes we've had in some time. Like I love Gore, but I'm not sure Gore is uh, as strong or impactful as a receiver out of the backfield. But Gore does. I think Gore's a tougher runner. Yards after contact. That'd be interesting, actually, metric to look up that I don't have in front of me. But that would be interesting to see. Uh, Gore was always dependable, but CMC has that it factor. So those are the kinds of things that we're weighing out, right? CMC in 2012 would be crazy. Yep. CMC got that Curry effect. Like, and that was the crazy thing about Frank Gore is they would stack the box and they would just run. They would just run into stacked boxes and Frank Gore would just churn out yards. So it's tough, man. It's a tough one. I don't fault you if you go either way, to be honest. I don't think there's any wrong answer here. I really don't. Because it is somewhat split in the chat. But if I had to make a decision and stop waffling, if I had to stop waffling, I'm going to stop waffling and I'm going to pick CMC. Oh, God. It hurts. It hurts my soul, man. Frank Gore's a legend. But I got to go CMC. CMC's just, I think if you swapped, I think if you put CMC in 2012, I think CMC is going crazy. I think CMC is leading the league in rushing. Um, I think it'd be crazy, but it's tough. It's like it's such a small margin, such a small margin. But I do understand Gore is an Iron Man leader. Uh, so many different things, man. So again, this is a hard one. Stressing. I don't think this one's going to be as hard, but I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Fullback, Bruce Miller versus Kyle Juszczyk. Remember, Bruce Miller was a defensive end in college at a UCF, 7th-round draft pick, converted to fullback, and came in and turned into one of the better fullbacks in the league right off the jump. So, but unfortunately, Bruce Miller had some off-field issues, so he didn't get to really fulfill his entire career. But then you look on the opposite side of that, in Kyle Juszczyk, I truly, truly believe this. And I blame myself sometimes for forgetting about him when I talk about 49ers weapons because he's a weapon. Kyle Juszczyk is the weapon. He's the focal point of the run game. Where Kyle goes, the running game goes. I truly believe Kyle Juszczyk is a generational fullback. Like when we talk about like CMC being potentially a generational back, I think Kyle Juszczyk is a generational fullback. Like in the sense, and when we say generational, meaning the game evolves, right? We're in a pass happy league. Big hits have been eradicated from the game. The rules have been, extrapolated, and it was much more physical back in the day. But I still believe Kyle Juszczyk could have played in any era. In any era, he is just as physical as any one of these guys. Your Mike Allstotts, your Low Neals, whatever fullbacks you want to invoke. I think Kyle Juszczyk's generational, man. His athletic ability, his ability to add additional value in the passing game, which we really don't use all that often. Juice is generational. So for me, and I think the chat agrees. I don't think I saw one person pick Bruce Miller, and it makes sense. Good choice, chat. See, Sourdough Squad. some of the smartest community out there. So now this one, I'm very curious because I think I know how it's going to go. I think I know which way you guys are going to fall on this, but I do believe it could go multiple ways. So I'm interested in how you guys view wide receiver, the 2012 wide receivers versus the 22 wide receivers. And again, don't forget, you also had obviously Crabtree and Manningham led the group, but you had Ted Ginn Jr., who was primarily slot slash returner. Chad Hall, who remembers Chad Hall? Legend A.J. Jenkins, Trent Baalke's shining star. You also had, excuse me, my allergies are messed up. I don't know if any of you guys are going through that. Delaney Walker was not a wide receiver. Good old Kyle Williams. And it was 2012. So they had Randy Moss as well. And you should also have, what's his name? Quentin Patton should be on the roster. But does Moss change anything? The problem with Randy Moss, he was at the end of his career. So, and Mario Manningham had big moments, but he never was a wide receiver that struck fear into anyone's heart. I mean, I know we all know him very well from the 2011 NFC Championship game, but that was it. He had moments. I think when you look at Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk as the headliners for the 2022 team, I think you got to tip it to those guys, man. Like those guys, what they're capable of doing. Like even though Crabtree had over 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000-yard receiving, 9 touchdowns. I don't know. Crab left a little bit for me to be desired, if that makes sense. Like I always wanted more out of Crabtree because I felt like he was capable of more, but I never felt like we got it. And I don't know if it was the way he started out his career at the 49ers, holding out, or just how he ended his career with the Raiders. I don't. when like I was indifferent on Crabtree when he was on the Niners. When Crab went away from the Niners, I did not like him. Like when he was on the Raiders, I could not stand Crabtree. So I don't know. I'm going 2022. So I'm going 2022 with the wide receiver room. I don't think that wide receiver room was anything to write home about. They had their moments and all that type of stuff. But I'm going with the 22 wide receivers. I think they win that battle. I think Deebo Samuel absolutely steals Michael Crabtree's chain 10 out of 10 times. That's just how it is. And because Debo's snatching that chain 10 out of 10, W for the 2022 San Francisco 49ers. Sorry, Krabby. Sorry, Krabby Patty. Not today. Okay. So this is another tough one that I kind of wasn't anticipating because I think it's a 2v1 right now. I mean, yeah, I'm going to call it 2v1. It's a 2v1. Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker. This is what makes it very difficult, in my opinion, is that it's Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker versus Kittle, Croft, Dwelly, Warner. Remember, it's position group versus position group. So I've said this on basically anytime anyone asks me, Kittle or Davis, I take Kittle every time. Because again, you guys know how much I value Kittle's blocking ability and his receiving ability and his leadership ability. To me, he's your prototypical tight end. Now, Vernon Davis had your prototypical athleticism from the tight end position, but I don't believe Davis was the full package. I believe, but Vernon Davis's athleticism was way better than Kittle's. But when you add Delaney to the mix, then I'm like, ooh. So I picked when I was doing this was like the internal dialogue that I had. I was like, Delaney Walker was dope. Like underutilized, but solid for the San Francisco 49ers. Really, really good. And so since we're doing rooms, I gotta go 2012. Gotta go 2012. Delaney and Vernon. Like we didn't know how good we had it, like in real time. But looking back, having Vernon and Delaney on the same team, on the same roster, like, whoo, come on, baby. Vernon and Delaney. Love it. So I'm picking 2012. It looks like the chat, for the most part, same kind of vibe because it's both. It's both of them. And we know Delaney Walker went on to be one of the better tight ends when he was on the Titans. So it really was. It was crazy, man. These two guys, like, it's just one of those situations. Like, we knew they were good, but like, damn, they were really good. But having those two good of a tight ends on the same roster, though, like, and that's what I think ultimately changes it. That's what, and right here, Walker's the difference, 100%. Delaney is way better than Twelly. Delaney's way better than all of them. So that's where I'm going to. 2012 is it. Hold on one second. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. My dog loves to come bust in, smash that door open. All right, let's get back to it. All right. So, quick recap so far. We have 2020 or 2012 quarterback, 2012 fullback, 2012 tight end. We've given 2022 the receiver and running back. So not bad, not bad. Somewhat even. And I agree with this. 12 room wins, but Kittle overall. This is exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. And fullback, yes. Fullback 22. So that takes us to, I feel like this is going to be a landslide, in my opinion. Basically, we're doing rooms. So I'm doing 2012 offensive line versus 2022 49ers offensive line. Now, granted, to me, Trent Williams is the best tackle to ever play the game. And so the 2022 team has, in my opinion, the best offensive lineman to ever play. So you have that going for you. But it's Trent and first year starter in Banks, first year starter in Brendel, first year starter plus rotation with Burford Brunskill and Mike McGlinchey versus Staley, Ubadi, Goody, Boone, and Davis. And right, Brendel was a Pro Bowl alternate as well. So for me, like when I look at that 2012 offensive line, I would compare it to like the Eagles offensive line this year. Just studs across the board. Like I didn't like Anthony Davis later on in his career for like retiring on the team twice, but when he was in that 2012 era, this offensive line, man, was legendary. Prime Staley, IU Potty. I got my IU Potty jersey over here. Goody getting signed from the Saints, coming over to the San Francisco 49ers to really kind of solidify the center of that offensive line. Alex Boone, shout out the Rhino. Still love that I ran into Alex Boone on the streets in Indianapolis, somehow recognized him, and had a dope conversation with Alex Boone in Indianapolis this year. And then again, like I said, I didn't really like Anthony Davis towards the end, but I really don't think, even with Trent on that 2022 team, I still got to go, still got to go with this 12 team. I don't believe it's bias. I don't believe it. Are there other phenomenal uh tackles to play this game, such as Anthony Munoz, as well? 100%. But no one has done what Trent Williams has done. Trent Williams' 2021 season will forever go down as the best season by any offensive lineman ever. Ever. That's just the way it is. Trent was out here changing the way offensive line was played in 2021. He is athletically an alien compared to even some of these other guys that were good athletes back in their time. It's just, and again, there's a little bias, but I just know how good. I just know how good Trent and Joe Thomas. Yeah, Joe Thomas was a phenomenal tackle. That's not what we're debating. We're debating the body of work, physical tools, technical tools, basically playing defensive line from offensive lineman standpoint. Like Trent did things that guys just at a different level. It's just at a different level, even for guys like Joe Thomas. I really do believe that. And Joe Thomas is one of the best to ever play. But even with that guy on the 2022 roster, still got to go 2012. So if we score it up, it's, what did we say? It's 1, 1, 1, 1. So I have 4 versus 2. 4v2. 2012 takes the lead for the 2. Let's see if there's any redemption on the defensive side. I don't know. Defensive side was just as tough. The defensive side is just as tough, man. So, again, because it's not comparable in regards. Oh, it's 3-3. Thank you. My math sucks. This is why we have you guys in the chat to check my math. Me and math, we don't vibe. So let me double check that one more time too. Alex to tight end went 12, O-line went 12. It was wide receiver, fullback. Oh yeah, that's right. It's wide receiver, fullback, running back. Wide receiver, fullback, running back, 2022. Okay, we're tied, actually. We're tied. Shout out to the chat for checking my math. Not my strong suit. So we're 3-3 on offense. Let's see what the tiebreakers are going to be on defense. So again, the way that I'm looking at this is you have the Fangio 3-4, right? Fangio 3-4. And what a 3-4 consists of: 3 what I would call interior defensive linemen. The outside linebackers are, we're going to classify them as edge. So an outside linebacker in a 3-4 is a lot different than an outside linebacker in a 4-3. And a defensive end in a 3-4 is much different than a defensive end in a 4-3, vice versa, whatever. So that's why we're going to do position groups. We're going to do interior defensive line. We're going to do edges and middle linebacker. Even though, Dre Greenlaw's an outside linebacker, we're just going to call them middle linebackers. So if that makes sense. So for our first defensive versus, we're going to do interior defensive line. So that means it's going to be Isaac Sopuaga, Ray McDonald, Justin Smith. Let's see what other interior defensive linemen that we had on this roster. Ricky Jean-Francois. I know you guys remember him. Tony Gerard Eddy. Cam Johnson. Forgot about some of these guys, man. It's a fun jump back into the good old time machine. Ian Williams. Shout out to Ian Williams. So that is what the interior defensive line was looking like in 2012 for the San Francisco 49ers. It was Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, Hassan Ridgeway, Kevin Gibbons, Akeem Spence. You added T.Y. McGill in season. Am I missing someone? Man, if we're going interior, obviously you have 3 starters on the interior for a 3-4 versus 2 in a 4-3. So it's going to be a little bit weighted towards 2012 a little bit, but still you have Justin Smith anchoring that unit. Because I think if I would have said Justin Smith versus Eric Armstead, I think you would probably pick Justin Smith. Justin Smith might not have had the stats, but that dude had all the impact. Kind of like what Eric does, honestly, for the 49ers from the interior. A lot of the stunt game, loop game, those guys are at the point of attack. really making it messy. So I think if you had to compare interior defensive line 2012 versus the 2022 team, I think 2023 is a more compelling argument with Javon Hargrave. But because we're not talking about Javon, we're talking about Justin Smith. I think 2012 gets IDL because Justin Smith, don't forget Sopawaga, McDonald, again, Ian Williams had a nice impact for the San Francisco 49ers as well. I think you got to go 2012. 2012 IDL. Again, it's going to be a little bit weighted in their direction because they have more of them. But I do think it still goes to the 2012 team. Justin Smith, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, out here creating havoc. So I'm going 2012. So now this is where I think it gets a little interesting, but it still might sway a particular way because now we're going to move on to edge. So if we go to edge, we're talking about Ahmad Brooks. We're talking about Alden Smith. We're talking about, let's see what other edge guys they got. Did they have Lemonnier at that point? I can't remember. They had, man, where are the other? That's it. I know they had other outside linebackers. I don't know why they're not showing them all, but I think it honestly might not really matter because when you look at Ahmad Brooks and you look at Alden Smith and you look at the 19 and a half sacks that Alden Smith had that season, and then you're comparing it to Nick Bosa's last year's season of 18, you're like, oh man. Like, sheesh. Like, we love Nick Bosa. But 19 and a half sacks for Alden Smith, that's pretty nice. Ahmad Brooks added 6.5 sacks himself. So if you were to go versus 2012 versus 2022 edge players, I'm curious, which way are you going? Because the San Francisco 49ers, they had Nick Bosa, Ebukam, Drake Jackson, O'Menahue, Willis, Hyder. Are you going 22 or are you going 12? So very interested to see what the chat's vibing like because you've got two elite rushers, Alden Smith, Nick Bosa. You've got pretty legitimate role playing guys. Ahmad Brooks wasn't a role player, but he was a legitimate starter. But Ebukam, O'Menahue, they had a pretty big impact last year. So right off the bat, the chat is saying hold on. Ooh, what's this saying? Oh wait, no. Let me start at the top. 2012. Boomerat says, okay, hear me out. Olden Smith wasn't as good as Bosa in the run game compared to Bosa, and Bosa doesn't have as good of a D line. Ooh, I like the nuance. I like the nuance. Olden was on pace to be the GOAT. Brooks was underrated. 2000 defense period every position but Bosa. 2022 because Bosa's desire to be the best. 2022 team won 11 in a row. Let's see. Brian says, I'm going to lean 22. Bosa is better overall. Menahue and Ebukam were good too, which is very true. Even Drake Jackson came away with like 3.5 sacks. 2012 had the attitude you can't have nowadays. Boomerat says he's going 22. Tough one. Oh, we got another vote for 22. Another one for 22. 22. So far, the 22. Slight edge to 2012. I like the pun. Very well done. Brooks was for real. We got another 22. We got another 12. Ooh, this might be the best one we've had so far in regards to kind of going back and forth. 2012, 2012. 2022, I feel teams ran away from Bosa's side more. If Bosa had 2012 interior line, he would have had 20 to 23 sacks. Man, if Kyle Shanahan doesn't take Nick Bosa out of the Washington game, he probably has 20 sacks. Probably. 2012. Ooh, we're down the middle. 22, 2012, 2012, 22. Ooh, we're down the middle. This might come up to an executive decision from the ginger beard himself, which again, this is a hard decision because I think when you look, because we're doing rooms, I think the edge room in 2022 is deeper and it is built more towards stopping the run. And then when you look at the edges in 12, absolutely geared towards getting after the passer. It's a tough one. Tough one. Because gosh. Can't make up my mind. I can't make it's too hard. This hypothetical ranking system is too even got me stressed out trying to pick one. In regards to league rank, the 49ers defense in 2012 was ranked second in points scored. So they allowed the second least amount of points scored. They were third in least amount of yards. Defense is legendary, man. So this all right. All right. Someone said flip a coin. I actually like that. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So we've got this little airplane. That's going to be tails. And of course, we know what heads is. So we're literally We're flipping a coin because the chat was dead even. I can't even make a decision. So we're putting this in the hands of the coin. So let's see what we got. Flipping it. Oh, 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 oh. I didn't even pick who represents who. I'm terrible at this. Let's reset. Tails 2012, heads 2022. That's how we're doing it. Flipping it again. Woo-hoo! Good old Georgie. What did I say? I don't even remember. Did I say heads? Did I say heads was 2012? 22? I don't know. We're off the rails. And I'm here for it. So, I think I said 22. So that gets us to 22. 22. Good thing we aren't doing anything important here because clearly you would see how it would go. Not the best, but that's why. Doesn't matter. Let's go cornerbacks. We're almost the way through, and I think all the way through we're tied still. We're 4-4, right? Again, check my math. Someone check my math. 2 out of 3. I'll do 2 out of 3. I'll do 2 out of 3. All right. Heads 22, tails 12. We'll do 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. Okay. I'm going to flip it from head side up. Full transparency. Full transparency. 2 out of 3. Ooh! It went tails. We're off the rails. We're off the rails. Let's move to cornerbacks. Let's just move to cornerbacks. Let's go to cornerbacks. So in 2012, Carlos Rogers, Terrell Brown, and don't forget Coliver, right? You had Coliver. Who else? Coliver, Parrish Cox. You guys remember Parrish Cox? Tremaine Brock around. So you had those guys versus Charvarius, Emmanuel, still counts. Eman, Ambry, Demo, Dante Johnson. What do you think? I think Charvarius Ward is better than anyone on the 2012 team. Carlos Rogers made a Pro Bowl. Terrell Brown was all right, but we know why they were all right. And I really do think Charvarius Ward is better than Culver, Rogers, and Brown. Emmanuel Mosley, healthy Emmanuel Mosley is probably, I know he's definitely better than Terrell Brown. It'd be interesting to see those guys stack together against Rogers, but I'm pretty confident in Ward being better than them all. And then Demo came in, did his thing. So the chat is saying 22. We got 112 so far. And the reason why I say this is because that front seven, that 3-4 created so much havoc on defenses. Think about like how coverage is impacted by constant pressure. So the 49ers were able to produce pressures. And I wish I had some numbers in front of me to kind of back it up, but I'm kind of going off of memory, which is a little sketch. But I do believe that I from what remember watching all those games during that time, the pressure that that front seven constantly generated really allowed the two safeties, Deshaun Goldson, Whitner, to just hunt. And it really allowed both Rogers and Brown and Culliver to kind of, you know, have to cover for less amount of time. So I do think that I would, if I had to pick one, and I do see a couple 2012s in here. I want to make sure you guys are represented. 2000, they 100%. No one said they weren't doing their jobs. They did their jobs 100%. They did their jobs and they did their jobs at a high level. I think Rogers was a Pro Bowler, but I do love Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward together. Those guys were probably one of the best cornerback duos in the league before they went down. Diamador stepped up. Culliver, I thought was mid. I never thought Culliver was all that great. I really didn't. I thought Terrell Brown was also a little bit mid. I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was. I would say Emmanuel Mosley's better than Terrell Brown, but that's my personal take. Um, and then Carlos Rogers was the best of them all in 2012, and he had more natural cover abilities for sure. But I like what Ward brings to the table. Could be recency biased, 100%. But since it is my show, I'm going 2022 getting the nod at the cornerback position. I don't think it's a runaway, by the way. I don't think it's like a runaway in either way, like it's hands down 22 over 12. I think it's actually pretty close because I do like the depth that 22 provides, and I do think the that 12 provides good depth as well. But I do think Ward is better than both Rogers and Brown. So that is helping sway where we're at. So now, are we going to finish with a no? We'll go into special teams. We'll go into special teams. So maybe special teams will have to develop the tiebreaker, but we still have safeties, and this one's going to be interesting for the chat, I think, because obviously Talanoa Hufanga, first team All Pro, Pro Bowler. Tashawn Gibson had what, 5 interceptions, played really well. I'm going to lump in Jimmy Ward as well. I'm going to lump in Jimmy Ward. See, so that's the other thing I didn't put into. I think if you put Jimmy Ward, no, I actually have to adjust that. Going back to the cornerbacks, Jimmy Ward was the nickel. So if you're putting Jimmy Ward at the nickel and you have E-Man and you have Charvarius, it's got to be 2022 for the cornerbacks. So I'm omitting Jimmy Ward from the safeties. So we're going Talanoa, we're going Tarvarius Moore, we're going Gibson, we're going Odom versus Dante Whitner, Goldson. What other safeties did they have back in the day? I think Spillman played a lot of safety. If you guys remember Spillman. McBath, Trent Robinson. Yeah, I think Trent Robinson played safety. CJ Spillman, I think, played a lot of safety. So, see, this one's tough for me because Deshaun Goldton's probably one of my all-time favorite players to ever. Oh, I just realized, by the way, I past linebackers. So I'm going to be going back to that. So don't forget about that. Going back to linebackers. Don't forget about that. But if you had to go Dante Whitner, Deshaun Goldson, Talanoa Hufanga to Sean Gibson, I think I got to go 2012. Deshaun Goldson and Dante Whitner could change games with a single hit. Um, these guys created constant turnovers. They created constant fear over the middle of the field for opposing wide receivers. And this was before the rule change, so you could absolutely destroy people over the middle. And they were different. They were different. So I'm going 2012. 2012. So that evens it up, right? So that puts us at 5v5. But now I forgot a group. So this one's I like that this one actually came at the end because it's pretty star studded. So I'm giving the W to 2012 for the safety spot. But if you had to do linebacker, if you had to do middle linebacker, so Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis. What other linebackers did they have? Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis. There's no Borland yet. I don't think Borland was around yet. Larry Grant. Don't forget Larry Grant. Don't forget Larry Grant, a key special teamer. Actually played quite a bit. I feel like I'm missing someone else too. Michael Wilhoit. Michael Wilhoit was on the squad back then. Dang, I forgot about that. So obviously the two stars, prime Patrick Willis, prime Navarro Bowman versus Paris Harrelson was the other edge. But it's prime Navarro Bowman, prime Patrick Willis. Oh yeah, Takeo Spikes. Yeah, Takeo Spikes. I should have been on the team in 2012. It's not listing him on whatever roster that was, but I do think it was Takeo Spikes as well. I believe. I believe. But and we did Ahmad Brooks and Olden as edge rushers. So we're quantifying these guys as kind of middle linebackers. Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, Fred Warner, Greenlaw, Al Shair, Orrin Burks, Flanagan Fowles, those guys. So I think we would consider Fred Warner the best linebacker right now in this particular, like this, I don't know if we call it this era, but like in this time period, I definitely think I would consider Fred Warner the best middle linebacker with everything that he does. But you go back to that time, Patrick Willis was the best middle linebacker, in my opinion, of his time. You can make the argument Ray Lewis and maybe Brian Urlacher or guys like that. But with Navarro Bowman in his prime, that is an all-time middle linebacker duo that I'm not sure we'll ever really see duplicated like that. Now, maybe Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw turn into that. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe at one point we're sitting back one day watching those guys and we're like, man, that's the next Bo and P. Willie. But I think to give the proper respect, you have to give the middle linebacker spot to the 2012 team. That 2012 team was nice when it comes to the defense and what those linebackers did, the way they ultimately impacted everything. Bowman, Willis, legends. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw are legends in the making, right? But man, and I think that's fair. Fred and Greenlaw remind me of Bowman and Willis. So I think it's somewhat close, but I personally got to go Patrick Willis Bowman, which would put the 49ers, or that would put the 2012 team in the lead, right? At 6-5. 6-5, 2012 in the lead. Are we doing special teams? Do we rank our special teams guys? Special teams aren't even listed on this particular roster. Oh no, we got Brian Jennings, Andy Lee. Was this Akers? I think this is the year that Akers. Yeah, that was the year that I think Akers broke the record. So let me double check. I'm pretty sure 2012 he tied the NFL field goal record with a 63-yard kick, but I also think when it comes to points, I think he broke a record as well. And you had the Tony Montana squad. Ooh. All-time record. So I think that even though Robbie Gould, Mitch Wish, Tabor Pepper, and the 49ers special teams unit much improved, I do think that you have to go 2012 because remember, that offense didn't score a lot. It was Akers who scored a lot. We kicked a lot of field goals that season. So and you had the Tony Montana squad. Ted Ginn returning kicks. Yeah, I think we got to hands down special teams has got to go to 2012. So either way, depending on the coin flip, because the coin flip gate is coming next. But regardless of the coin flip gate, the 2012 team still comes out on top. So whether 7-5, 7-5, or 7-6, the 2012 team comes out with the dub. But I think the awesome thing about it is that it's pretty damn close. It's pretty close with 3 quarterbacks. One of them a rookie, one of them a first-year starter, one of them was a guy playing off to the side. The 2000. What's going to be interesting is if we do this again with the 2023 roster, what the 2023 roster is going to look like compared to the 2012. So that's going to be fascinating. It is going to be fascinating to see. So we did it. Shout out to you guys for participating. The 2012 team comes out on top with the dub. But all things considered, the San Francisco 49ers, man, still built pretty well. And I kind of agree with that. Ooh, I like this is a good one. This is a good one. Who's the better coach? Was the better coach Harbaugh or was the better coach Shanny? That's a good question right there. Oh man. Harbaugh. So these are the things like when we talk about the coaches, it's like Harbaugh took over a better roster. Shanahan had to build everything. Shanahan built the staff. He, from my understanding, built the front office, built out a lot of the roster. He's had continued success, I guess. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because Harbaugh came in and was like instantly an emotional leader, right? Harbaugh is an emotional leader. Kyle Shanahan is like a strategist. Kyle Shanahan is less of an emotional leader, but he built this roster, and he's responsible for a lot of it. So for me, I'm probably I'm definitely and I've held this opinion for a while. I'm going Kyle Shanahan. I do think Harbaugh did a good job, and like I mean, you know, the vibes, the vibes that Harbaugh brought, legendary. You'll never be able to recreate that type of stuff. I loved Harbaugh, man. The khakis, the who's got it better than us. Hitting the quarterbacks before every game. Harbaugh was just a vibe. But I do think what Shanahan has done has built long-term success, long-term sustainability. And even though there's a lot of questions, like you can still question and critique what Kyle has done and is doing, but two NFC championships back to back, three in the last 4 years, Super Bowl appearance, um, and doing it from scratch. I do think that speaks for something. Uh, Double says Harbaugh spoiled quarterbacks. Kyle doesn't. Different. Spoiled's an interesting word. It's definitely an interesting word. I don't know. Harbaugh was a quarterback. Harbaugh played quarterback in this league, so I imagine Harbaugh attacked the quarterback position like he would have want to be coached. So yeah, that's interesting. But he was a quarterback at the end of the day. Um, this one is very easy for me. Uh, I'm definitely picking John Lynch over the one that shall not be named. Um, it was quite the full circle moment being able to stand in front of Balky's podium at the combine and just be like, it's like, man, it's like you almost made me stop being a fan of this team. Like, I was like, the way you ran the San Francisco 49ers, it was almost the last straw for me. Like, and just being able to stand in front of them and just be like, listen to him talk. I was like, man, what a moment. I'm going John Lynch 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. Because Balky was terrible. Just awful. The AJ Jenkins pick, awful. All the ACL picks, awful. Vance Brickhand McDonald, awful. Rashad Robinson, awful. Just like he had a great first draft, but yeah, terrible. Shout out Jimmy Ward 100%. Jimmy Ward survived different regimes, multiple coaching staffs, different front offices. all that type of stuff. Tank Carradine, I forgot about him. Good old Tank. What about Marcus Lattimore? Marcus Lattimore. Um, Will Redmond in the second round off an ACL. God, so bad. So bad. Yeah, Trent inherited what's his name? Scott McLuhan. Scott McLuhan was the real GM for sure. Oh, Lattimore would have been the future if he didn't like rip his bottom half his leg off of separate. I know you guys remember that injury is so gruesome. Crazy, 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 crazy. But hey, that was fun. I'm not even going to talk about the quarterback rumors because you already know what they are, and we know why they exist. The 49er quarterback rumors are only here to drive us crazy and make us talk about the same thing every single day. So, you know what? I'm not going to go into it. You know they're there. You know they exist. I know your thoughts on them. You know my thoughts on them. And what we continue to know is set your clock to it. It's about 3 weeks until the NFL draft. So, within those 3 weeks, we're probably going to be averaging 2.3 quarterback trade rumors um, per week. So just be ready. More rumors coming. They won't stop. They will continue. And we'll be here to ignore them all. Oh, good stuff. I saw that. I saw him say that this was a really thin safety group. And if you do kind of get into it, like there really aren't I think there are some quality safeties for sure. But I think kind of like what DJ was talking about is like there's not a lot of them, you know. There there aren't that many. Like if I look at my sheet here, there there really aren't a whole lot. Like Jair Brown, I like Jair Brown, but he is kind of like a third round guy. Skinner, I like him, but to me, Skinner is like a hybrid linebacker almost. Like, you know, I think he's an in the box safety, which I don't know if the 49ers necessarily need at the moment. I like Daniel Scott out of Cal, but he doesn't like have elite traits, in my opinion. I really like Jervarius Owens out of Houston. But yeah, I mean, it's not a super deep group, at least from the guys that I've seen. You know, Jamie Robinson out of Florida State's nice. Um, but I just don't think it's an ultra deep group. You know, Trey Dean, like some of these guys might have an impact, but I just don't think it's an ultra deep group. But there's going to be some guys that come out of that position group. So we'll see. We'll see. All it takes is a couple of them to hit, and we're talking a different story. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But shout out to all you guys for tapping in. Grab your cookies if you stayed the whole time. Appreciate you guys. Oh, I didn't even think of Sydney Brown. Yeah. I don't mind Sydney Brown being 5'9". Again, I think, you and I have had this conversation. Like, I really don't care about your measurables if it doesn't show up on tape, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm watching the tape and I can't tell that you're 5'9" and that has any type of limitations to you, then, I take that into consideration for my evaluations. Sometimes it does get in the way, but sometimes 5'9" guys can jump higher than anyone else. So they're able to kind of, what is Tyrann Mathieu? Isn't he like 5'9"? I think he's like 5'9". I'm gonna look it up really quick. He's 5'9". Tyrann Mathieu's 5'9". So again, 5'9" is only an issue if they let it be an issue. If you can play and you're 5'9", then you can play. Look at Tyrann Mathieu. Dude's 5'9". So Sydney Brown seems like a guy that's not going to be an issue. He'll be able to overcome those things. But shout out to everyone. Appreciate you guys tapping in. This is a later show today. But appreciate you. And we're going to keep vibing in the off season. All kinds of fun stuff. Off season is here. Draft is, you could smell it. The draft is close. Will there be another mock soon? Absolutely. It's mock draft season. We might be ramping up to a couple of them a week. So 100%, we're going to be doing more mock drafts, more draft, all that type of stuff. But until then, appreciate you all. We're out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.